Alright, let's understand Saturn getting retrograde in the third house in detail now. Now, this is one very difficult yet extremely rewarding placement. Difficult, why? Because Saturn is here to make you work so hard compared to others that you would stop finding a room to complain about your efforts as well. You are a person who finds satisfaction in putting a lot of effort in your life. But unfortunately, the direction of the area where you have consolidated all these efforts keeps on denying you the results. And you feel extremely insecure about the knowledge that you gain in your life. It is simply because you have learned something and then you ended up implementing something completely different, and then you start feeling extremely insecure whether you are actually a learned scholar or not. And that motivates you to go back into education like crazy when Saturn goes in the third house. And you constantly feel the need to actually evolve your experiences. But the interesting part is, this education is very different from formal degrees. Many a times you are a person who advocates to the fact that one needs to focus and try to give their best through their life experiences, through their work experience and job, when it is Saturn which is retrograde in the third house. And they fear actually pursuing a higher degree simply because these people have seen that gurus or any higher authority figure do not favor them like they would favor other folks around. Many a times you yourself are very rebellious, and since you are an extremely curious person who likes to communicate their ideas in a very succinct fashion, you would see that teachers become insecure around you, or they try to advocate the fact to you that it is what it is when you ask questions. And this really pisses you off and makes you feel that my original teacher is my experience and my personal life altogether. You start feeling that you scatter and consolidate your effort in parallelly many directions simultaneously. And you would see that you are preparing for multiple competitive exams when you are given the option. You are preparing a career for multiple areas of life. When you get in service, or let's say even if you decide to start a business, in case there is a business placement in your chart, then you see you reiterate or experiment with multiple areas and products before you could boil down to one. In fact, many a times you end up never boiling down to one. You keep yourself scattered, and all of this scattered efforts eventually contributes to a lack of direction and creates a sense of imposter syndrome within you, because you start feeling that you are jack of all and master of none. And that is what Saturn in third house being retrograde makes it. And therefore, many a times, even when you end up becoming a subject matter expert, you would see that there are situations coming in your life that make you feel like that you are actually a beginner or a newbie who is supposed to adapt to learning once more, who is supposed to revisit the learning segment once more. You have a very natural way of expressing yourself, but you lack that and develop stage fright very frequently. You do not like to easily share experiences with people. You are a person who is very receptive, but at the same time, you see that whenever you are vocal about a lot of things, you unnecessarily invite some backlash to you in form of any embarrassment or in form of any insult that completely changes the entire situation for you. You become very sad about the fact that your consolidation of results in any direction do not yield fruit. And it is very difficult for you to actually believe that hard work translates into results at a later point of time in life. These people also often see that there is a huge gap or difference in time frame between them actually pursuing higher degrees. Let's say post their bachelor's, if they decide to go for a master degrees, these people work quite a lot. And after working extensively, then they decide or narrow down where they want to establish a niche for. And this is something that they do not share usually with, let's say, their batchmates who might accelerate forward ahead of them in life very easily. They feel that they have a very due lack of support from their teachers. And when it comes to making them understand things, they feel that their teachers are not doing a satisfying job. Moreover, they themselves are also people who do not like teaching in general. They do love sharing experiences, but they do not like to actually teach it to other people literally. Rather, they like it to keep it very informal way. And they become very good teachers in arts or forms or any, creative expressions that would involve, let's say, music, dance forms, or even other creative outlets, whichever applicable, because they start using this like a coping mechanism. And this is something they share with Saturn retrograde in the first house as well, except the fact that they identify their coping mechanisms in a much quintessential fashion. While a Saturn in first house being retrograde will grant you the fear to even identify what is your creative outlet altogether. They crave home quite a lot. When Saturn is retrograde in the third house, they want to buy properties, they want to invest in vehicles, they want all the luxuries and comforts in their life. And one more important thing to them is they want to seek an active validation about their work, about their path from their mothers. And it does not bode well for them in the long run. They have huge respect for their mother figures in life, but they would see that they start even tolerating toxic behavior of their own mother and sometimes try to justify the fact that she simply deserves respect, and that is why it is okay for her to sometimes create toxic situations in their life. They do not like to indulge into very active conflicts usually, but they always forced due to people misunderstanding, misinterpreting, and trying to demean them or show condescending attitude towards them, that they are forced to take a stand, they are forced to debate, they are forced to communicate, and they actually learn it quite often beautifully. This is one placement that also makes them explore spirituality like anything. Because initially they are kind of very scared of anything which is related to spirituality, be it as simple as meditation or as complex as a mantra chanting or even name chanting in general. They find that it is very difficult for them to focus on for a long time, and they suffer from very short attention spans, due to which they start feeling insecure the moment they start meditating. A very strong remedy for them is to overcome this, because the moment they have given to spirituality, the moment they have given to meditation in a proper fashion, they go towards success, because it gives them sanity about how to select a particular direction. This Saturn placement is all about what choices you are here to make in your life. And if you are making the wrong choices, you see yourself scattered in parallel direction. And therefore, this Saturn placement eventually will make sure that you would actually go and incline yourself towards better purpose. And therefore, meditation, spirituality, any sort of chanting regarding your Isht works out in a very accelerated and beautiful fashion for all of you. You would also see that this Saturn, which is retrograde in the third house, makes you either kind of a person who is very much seeking social settings all the time, but also you would be complaining that you attract very toxic or, let's say, covert narcissistic folks quite a lot in your life. And you try to sometimes end up protecting them only to realize that they are the Brutus to you, who is this Julius Caesar in this entire story. And then you see betrayals from them, which makes you question friendship altogether. You have your own set of disagreements and tiffs with your father figures in your life, and sometimes it creates a rift. And if negatively placed, you might also see a loss of father altogether in your life. And this loss channelizes you to take up more responsibility, sometimes through compelled circumstances, which makes you feel more traumatized at the same time. This is a placement for Saturn being retrograde in third house that makes you feel that you are constantly practicing denial regarding your satisfaction in life. You are chasing satisfaction and again. Because of this chase, you keep on changing your goalposts in your life, and you end up later on realizing at a very later age that it was not the result altogether, but rather the experience about, the thrill about chasing satisfaction, which was your ultimate aim. But the bigger problem is that many a times you do not reach that higher level, and this frustrates you. Moreover, you would see that this person who is having Saturn retrograde in the third house is often humbled by their bosses a lot, and therefore they like to work in individual contributor roles more compared to working under somebody or working under their authority, because they feel that people exploit them quite often. Since they are hardworking and they like to take the blame upon themselves first, a Saturn which is retrograde in the third house will always feel frustrated in an environment where people are indulging in active politics. These people hate conflicts, they don't want to confront it directly, but are always forced into situations where they will have to learn confrontation till they come to the acceptance of the fact that it is important for them to learn to take a stand. And that is what this Saturn will definitely grant you with this.